A lot of people wake up somewhere around their mid-30s and have this quiet moment where they're sitting on the edge of the bed, maybe scrolling through their banking app, maybe staring at their credit card balance, maybe just thinking about retirement for the first time in their life, and the thought hits them like a truck. Wait, am I behind? Because here's the thing. In your 20s, financial mistakes feel harmless. You assume you've got time. You assume everything will work itself out. You assume that once you hit your 30s, you'll magically become financially responsible. And then your 30s show up, and suddenly you have rent or a mortgage, maybe kids, maybe student loans, maybe car payments, maybe a job that pays more than it used to, but somehow there's still not much money left at the end of the month. And the scary part? You're doing everything you were told to do. You work hard, you show up every day, you try to save a little when you can, but somehow it still feels like you're running on a treadmill financially. Look, if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And the reason is because most people make the same financial mistakes in their 30s, not because they're careless, but because they were taught the wrong rules about money. My name is Noble, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people build wealth and why most people struggle with money. If you're someone who feels like you're working hard but your finances still aren't where they should be, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, I want to talk about some of the biggest mistakes people make in their 30s, and not just the obvious ones. I want to talk about the mistakes that quietly cost people hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars over their lifetime. Now, before we get into the list, there's something important we need to address first. Most financial advice focuses only on math. Spend less, save more, invest the difference. But the truth is, money is mostly psychology. Two people can make the same income and end up in completely different financial situations. One retires comfortably, the other is broke at 65. Same salary, same economy, same opportunities. The difference is usually the decisions they made during their 30s. Because your 30s are financially dangerous. Not because you're broke, but because this is the decade where your habits start compounding. Good habits make you wealthy. Bad habits trap you. And here's what most people don't realize. The financial decisions you make between 30 and 40 will often determine whether you struggle or thrive for the rest of your life. So let's talk about the biggest mistakes. The first mistake is something almost everyone does, and it seems harmless at first. Lifestyle inflation. Look, when people are in their 20s, they're usually not making much money, so they live with roommates, they drive older cars, they cook at home. But then something happens when you hit your 30s. Your income goes up, and instead of increasing your investments, you increase your lifestyle. You move into a nicer apartment, you upgrade your car, you start eating out more, you travel more. And look, there's nothing wrong with enjoying your money, but here's the problem. Lifestyle inflation quietly eats your future wealth. Let me show you something that most people never calculate. Let's say you start investing $500 a month at age 30 into a basic index fund returning around 8% per year. That $500 per month becomes about $745,000 by the time you're 65. But now imagine instead of investing that $500, you use it for lifestyle upgrades. Maybe that's a nicer car. Maybe it's more takeout. Maybe it's subscriptions and convenience spending. That $500 decision just cost you nearly $750,000. And this is where it gets really interesting, because lifestyle inflation doesn't happen in one big decision. It happens in dozens of small ones. A slightly nicer apartment, a slightly nicer car, a few more dinners out, a slightly bigger vacation. Individually, they seem harmless, but together they erase decades of compounding. Now, you might be thinking, well, yeah, but I deserve to enjoy my money. And you're right, but here's the key difference between people who build wealth and people who stay stuck. Wealthy people increase their investments before they increase their lifestyle. Most people do the opposite. And that leads us to the second mistake, waiting too long to invest. This one is huge. According to data from Vanguard and Fidelity, the average person doesn't start seriously investing until their mid-30s, and that delay is incredibly expensive. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two people. Person A starts investing $400 a month at age 25. Person B starts investing $400 a month at age 35. Both earn about 8% annually. Person A invests for 40 years, person B invests for 30 years. The difference? Person A ends up with about $1.3 million. Person B ends up with around $600,000. 10 years. That's it. 10 years created a $700,000 difference. And here's what most people don't realize. The biggest driver of wealth isn't how much you invest, it's how long your money compounds. Your 30s are basically the last decade where compounding still has enormous power. After that, it becomes harder to catch up. And this leads to the third mistake, buying too much house. Now look, owning a home can absolutely be a great financial decision, but a lot of people turn it into a financial trap. Because the moment people hit their 30s, there's this pressure. Buy a house, upgrade your life, show you've made it. But here's where things go wrong. People buy the biggest house the bank will approve, and banks are very generous. If you earn $80,000, a bank might approve you for $350,000 mortgage. If you earn $120,000, maybe $500,000. But just because you can afford the payment doesn't mean you should take it. Because the bigger the house, the less flexibility you have. Higher mortgage, higher property tax, higher maintenance, higher insurance, and suddenly half your income is tied to one asset. Look, here's a simple rule I like. Your house should support your financial life, not dominate it. Because the fourth mistake people make in their 30s is ignoring investing while focusing only on debt. Now, this one sounds responsible. People think, I'll start investing once everything is paid off. Student loans, car loans, credit cards. And while paying off high-interest debt is important, waiting until you're completely debt-free before investing could cost you years of compounding. A better strategy is balance. Pay down high-interest debt aggressively, but still invest something, even if it's small. Because compounding rewards consistency, not perfection. And here's mistake number 5. Thinking income alone creates wealth. This is one of the biggest myths about money. People assume that once they earn enough, the wealth will follow automatically. But income and wealth are two completely different things. There are people earning $60,000 who build strong net worths, and there are people earning $200,000 living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because wealth is built by the gap between income and spending. And this is where the psychology of money really starts to matter. People compare lifestyles, not bank accounts. So when someone gets a raise, they upgrade their life to match the people around them. Better apartment, better car, better vacations. And suddenly that raise disappears. And the most dangerous part? It feels normal. Everyone around you is doing the same thing. But here's what most people don't realize. Real wealth often looks boring from the outside. It looks like living slightly below your means. It looks like investing consistently. It looks like ignoring status pressure. Which brings us to mistake number 6, not building multiple income streams. Now, this is something a lot of people ignore in their 30s because they're busy, career, family, life. But relying on a single paycheck is risky because layoffs happen, industries change, economies shift, and if all of your income depends on one employer, you're vulnerable. Even a small second income stream can make a huge difference. Investments, side businesses, freelancing, online content, rental income, these don't have to replace your job, but they create options, and options are financial security. Now, mistake number 7 is subtle but incredibly common, not tracking your money. This sounds simple, but it's powerful. According to multiple financial behavior studies, people who track their spending save significantly more than those who don't. Why? Because awareness changes behavior. When you see exactly where your money goes, you make better decisions. And here's the surprising part. Most people underestimate their spending by 20 to 40%. They think they spend $300 eating out, it's actually $700. They think subscriptions cost $50, it's $180. And those small leaks add up quickly. Now, here's where things start to get really interesting. Because the biggest financial mistake in your 30s isn't a specific purchase, it's a mindset. Believing you still have unlimited time. Look, 30 might feel young, and in many ways it is, but financially, the clock is ticking. Not in a scary way, but in a mathematical way. Every decade you delay serious investing dramatically increases the amount you'll need to save later. Someone who starts at 25 might need to invest 10 to 15% of their income. Someone starting at 40 might need 30 to 40%. Same retirement goal, different timeline. And that's why your 30s are so important. This is the decade where you shift from drifting financially to building intentionally. And the good news, if you're watching this video right now, you're already ahead of most people, because awareness changes outcomes. So let's talk about what you should actually do instead. First, automate your investments. Don't rely on motivation. Motivation fades, systems work. Set up automatic transfers to investment accounts every month. Treat investing like a bill. Second, control lifestyle inflation. When your income increases, increase your investments first, then upgrade your lifestyle with what's left. Third, focus on assets, stocks, businesses, investments that produce income, because assets create freedom. Fourth, keep your life flexible. The more financial margin you create, the more opportunities you can take. And finally, be patient. Wealth rarely happens quickly. It happens quietly, month by month, investment by investment, decision by decision. And this is something people don't talk about enough. Financial success usually looks boring from the outside. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, it's consistent, it's disciplined, it's long-term. But over time, those boring decisions compound into extraordinary results. So if you're in your 30s right now and feeling behind, take a breath. You're not late. You're just at the moment where the decisions start to matter more, and the choices you make today can completely change your financial future. Start small. Stay consistent. Ignore the noise. And remember, the goal isn't to look rich. The goal is to become financially free.